the passing offense obviously has been a struggle. I know that you've went in, I saw a lot of your videos and your analysis from this past week and from some previous weeks. What are you seeing? Why is the passing offense struggling? And do you see this as a big problem for this team?
Yeah, it's definitely a problem right now. Now, it doesn't mean that it's going to be a problem for the foreseeable future, that he can't get out of this funk. But Jalen Hurts right now is just not playing particularly well, and so the offensive staff's reaction to that, their solution for that, is streamlining the pass game. Hey, we're going to strip it down. We're going to do a lot of play action, a lot of RPOs, simplify the reads that way, and really try and open things up as you get into a game against the Carolina Panthers, an inferior opponent. Because what we saw, I mean, look, last week against the Baltimore Ravens, he completed 2 passes, John, that weren't play action and RPO. It was those were the only 2 passes in the game where he didn't do it. Now they got into this game against Carolina. They opened things up a little bit more vertical concepts, and again, just Jalen just did not play well. Look, he took care of the football. You and I think the last time we may have spoken was after maybe the Atlanta game, and at that point, Jalen was kind of in the throes of, turning the ball over. Yeah. He had a couple turnovers in each of those games. And I remember kind of defending his play at that time. I was like, look, yes, the turnovers are bad, but overall, I like the process. I like the way that he's playing. Right now, he's kind of gone back in the other direction where, I mean, John, over the last month, 2.2% of his throws have gone 20 plus yards down the field, which is like very anti Jalen. That is not the way that Jalen has made his bread in this league. And so I think when you look at the way that he's playing right now, a lot of people will say, oh, well, is he scared? Is he scared to turn the ball over? Are they overcoaching that? No one can answer that except for Jalen, right? I think that me trying to sit here as I'm watching film with my clicker, with a Coke in my hand, and watching, I can't put that on him. I can't define the why, but I can say right now, like, he's not pushing the ball down the field. He's the processing is very inconsistent. Sometimes he's too fast through his reads. Sometimes he's too slow through those reads, and it's just leading to a lot of inconsistency right now in his game.
Yeah, I like you. I saw, and you probably put some of these videos out, but there's a number of plays each game that he's missing wide open receivers. You may have heard A.J. Brown isn't very happy with the passing offense at this point. So I kind of said this yesterday, that there's got to be 2 reasons why he's doing it. A, he's not seeing the field well, and he's not seeing the receivers. Or B, he doesn't want to make a mistake, and he has the yips a little bit because he doesn't want to throw an interception. You had mentioned earlier, he was terrible protecting the ball earlier this season, but he was better throwing the ball, right? And now he's bad throwing the ball, but he's not turning the ball over. So, and maybe it's a little bit of both. But yeah, when we go back to last year,
yep,
when they started the struggle, it was after the San Francisco game. If you remember, Bosa came out after the game and said, well, I hope the Cowboys are paying attention. If you rush Jalen Hurts and you pressure him up the middle, he's looking at the rush. He's not looking downfield. That's concerning that he's not seeing the field and he's looking at the rush. I wonder if that's starting to creep back into him to where he's more concerned with what's going on in front of him than actually going through his progressions, looking down the field. Because there's guys that are open, man, and he's just missing them. And there are opportunities for big plays. And when your passing offense is struggling, you can't miss out on those opportunities.
Honestly, if I felt like the pressure was the problem, I would almost feel better about it because I was like, all right, let me fix the pressure, and hopefully you fix the issue. But right now, I mean, I was looking at some numbers last night for a piece that will be dropping on AllPHLY.com here this morning, and Jalen Hurts over the last month, quick pressure, which is a pressure that's in the first 2.5 seconds of a down, only 3.7% of his drops. That's like right at the top of the league. That offensive line is really holding up well in protection. His average time to pressure was the slowest of any quarterback in football this week. They blitzed him a ton. Carolina sent a lot of rushers. The protection held up really, really well. To your point, I think there are times where he does square up to the line of scrimmage. He does drop his eyes a little, but I think the big thing, a lot of people will point to the fact that he holds on to the ball too long. And he said, like, oh, the average time to throw, he holds on to it, he holds on. That alone is not like this. That's not a huge issue. When you look at who are the top quarterbacks that hold on to the football, I mean, it's Jalen Hurts, Lamar Jackson. I'm going down the list. Geno Smith, Josh Allen, Patrick Mahomes, Jordan Love's on that list. Joe Burrow's on that list. Like, all those guys are in the top 10 in terms of how long they hold on to the football. The issue right now is that he's holding onto the football, but he's not really taking any chances. He's not pushing the football down the field. He's not taking those chunk plays. All those other guys. I mean, that's why I noted right as the game ended, right as we were getting ready to go into the post game show, he had a 5.3 air yards per attempt on Sunday. Like that to me, like if you are going to hold on to the football really, really long and you're not pushing it down the field, to me that paints a picture of a quarterback that just does not trust what he's seeing for whatever reason. And maybe that is the concepts. Maybe they need to do a better job from that standpoint. To me, there were open receivers in this game, and it started on the very first drop back of the game. He had AJ Brown working down the field on a deep corner route on a play that honestly, like he was too fast through the progression on that play. You go 2 plays later, the first third down, he was too slow to go to the, and it ended up being a PBU targeting Jahan Dotson on a hitch route past the stick. So I think when you look at it, he's in a funk right now. He's got to work through it. I was talking with yesterday with Anthony, and I said, look, it's just like if Bryce Harper is going 1 for 18 over a 3-game stretch, over a 4-game stretch. He's got to work through it, and he's got to work through it fast. They've got a few games left here. They've got a great defense. This is honestly the best defense they've faced all season long. The one they're going to face here on Sunday against Pittsburgh. And after that, like you've got this stretch of games here going into the postseason against these divisional foes. Hopefully they can work out some of these kinks in the pass game.
Yeah, Jordan Mailata, and I think this quote was what wasn't played enough, where he talked about how they struggle early because teams are coming out and they're giving them different looks. Defenses are giving the offense different looks, and they're more or less dictating the game to the Eagles. So you wonder if maybe the solution here is you pump up all week like, hey, listen, we're coming out, we're going to throw the ball. Or like Saquon Barkley's obviously, the offense runs through them, and that's fine. You got to get these guys going again. And, man, it's you can make it through this weekend against the Steelers without totally shooting their confidence. You got the Commanders, the Cowboys, and the Giants. And maybe that's when you can get them going, get this passing offense going. But it's as good as this team's been and as good as the defense has been and Saquon Barkley and everything else, it's difficult for me to believe that if they're passing the ball at this rate that they're going to have success in the playoffs. You agree?
Yeah, I mean, he can't play the way that he played Sunday. Now, this comes off a week against, I mentioned the game against Baltimore, where, it was a ton of play action, a ton of RPOs. They didn't ask him to do a ton and from a pure drop back standpoint in that game where he had to read through it and go through progressions and things of that nature. That said, there were a couple of plays where it's like, all right, like if there are 4 examples of those plays in a given game, if you can make plays on 2 or 3 of them, and that includes scrambles in those plays, if you can make plays on 2 or 3, I think they can get by. You can do enough there to certainly make a run and go into the playoffs, and then you start to see if you can get hot. I think at the end of the day, you just can't have what it was this past week. Those explosive plays have to come with this offense, with this passing game. We know what you have in the run game. You know that this defense is capable of being one of the best in the league. What you need is, especially considering the fact that, I mean, AJ Brown and DeVonta Smith are 2 of the 11 highest paid receivers in football. You've got to be able to leverage those guys. You've got to be able to lean into that talent. And right now, they're just not getting the most out of those guys at his disposal.